Hey, welcome to Film versus Movie, the podcast where we normally debate the cinema you hate. I'm your co-host, Belton DeLaine-Facey.
And my name's Chris Shurr.
And normally we talk about the films that have been slandered and desecrated by public opinion. But today we're doing another edition of Cutting Room Floor, where we bring on filmmakers to talk about their earlier work. And today we have my good friend, fellow comedian, filmmaker, Matt Levy.
Hey, happy to be here. Have made many flops, so proud of each one of them in their own special way.
I mean, on this show, flops are merely opportunities.
Well, I'm an opportunist then.
Yeah. So how did you first get started in filmmaking?
Well, the very first thing I did was my dad would film us with his, VHS camera when we were kids. Did you guys do that too? Like you had a parent with a bulky VHS and you were like, whoa, movies can be made just in your home.
I think my dad had one camera. Then he packed it for a flight and it got stolen out of his luggage. And he's like, "Well, never doing that again."
Yeah, we weren't really a home movie family. We were, oh my God, why is there no pictures of you when you were young kind of family?
Are you like the seventh of 10 children?
No, I'm the second. They got tired.
Damn. Wow. I have a daughter now and we document everything, but it's not as fun as getting out a camera. Like she just steals my phone and actually takes pictures of herself already. She's only 15 months old.
Oh.
But yeah, that was kind of the impetus. I was like, oh, we could just make movies at home. I didn't know about editing. I didn't know about composition. I didn't know about storytelling, really. Just like we're running around in the backyard and we made a movie. And then in high school, did you guys have teachers that would allow you to make movies as like extra credit projects? That was kind of where it really started.
Yeah, oddly enough, in my high school biology class, we had one project where we had to do stop motion animation of meiosis, which
Oh,
if
cool.
if you don't remember high school biology well, that's the process of sex cells dividing to prepare to be functional eggs and sperm cells.
Do you still have this? I'd love to see it.
I have no idea where it is.
Yeah, Bellen, why didn't you bring this for the first episode
Yeah,
of Cutting
man.
Room Floor?
Because again, I have no idea where it is, and we weren't trying to be too artistic with it. We were trying to get it done because I'm not sure if you've ever done stop motion animation, but it's exhausting.
It is. It's worth it though. When you actually see it, you're like, oh my God, it looks like animation.
Were you just doing it on like paper? Were you using Play-Doh or something?
I think so. So one of my friends that was in my group, she and her mom are really avid bakers, so we were using fondant.
Oh,
Huh.
that's pretty high quality
Yeah.
meiosis. And I could see it looking sperm-like. For me, I have a friend that was kind of out there. His name's Carbon. He lives in Brooklyn now. And freshman year, I was in speech and debate. At the end of the year, there's no more tournaments and no one qualified for nationals on our team. So there's just like 3 weeks. They're like, go ahead and make a movie. And we went and filmed all around kind of north central Phoenix, going into like doctors' offices and asking secretaries if they would marry us. And
It
it's
sounds
really
like
stupid.
It sounds like one of those like early era YouTube prank videos.
Kind of. And my friend Carbon, he called the movie Natural Woman and we screened it for the class. It's really stupid.
Oh, what class was this for?
Speech and debate. So yeah, we made that. And then the next year, I kind of took the reins with my brother and we made a movie called Sell Bagels or Die Trying, inspired by 50 Cent. And it was about selling bagels, which our speech and debate team made us do. We didn't get a cut of the profit, but we'd have to sell a certain amount of bagels to like be on the team. It was kind of BS. And that was the one that really like connected with the class, and I was like, oh, making movies is so fun. Like, I don't think I've made anything that's gotten the laughs that Sell Bagel or Die Tryin' has since. Like, it's a career highlight sort of. I mean, just the classroom. It was like, it's like chasing that high. Is like, when you do like a really good set, but it's all maybe not necessarily crowd work, but you're just like commenting on the room in stand up, and like everyone's in on it. It's not necessarily material. It's not making fun of people, but you're just like pointing out things or observations that people have been thinking, but maybe never externalized. That's exactly what I felt. I was like, oh, wow, this is something I'll be chasing for the rest of my life in every artistic medium.
Yeah.
And then the next movie I made did not do well, but yeah.
Yeah, just the ultimate fear of peaking way too early.
Yeah, that was my Citizen Kane, man. Sell bagels or die trying. It was really, it's on YouTube. It probably is not funny to anyone that wasn't in Central High speech and debate in 2005, 2006. But for us, that was our movie.
Yeah. So after that, were you kind of in the mindset of like you wanted to just shoot more, gather in a team and do as much as you can, or did it take more time to reach that point?
I helped out with like video book reports a lot, and I'd use the Little Miss Sunshine score. I didn't know anything about editing really or shot listing. It was just you show up, we'll figure it out when we get there. We'll figure it out in the cutting room floor. I mean, a lot ends up on the cutting room floor, and then just hope for the best. And my senior year project, which was like a James Bond parody, flatlined. I was like, oh man.
What was it called?
Let's just call it Natural Woman 2. I don't remember. I honestly have no idea. That one it doesn't have the stickiness factor in my brain. I remember one of my classmates taking a bath and singing Splish Splash. And that's like the majority. And I think we used some Coldplay songs to date myself.
Yeah, but it's like I feel like a lot with editing and shot listing, it's like it's one of those things where it's like for a lot of people that didn't go to film school, it's something where it's like you don't think about it starting off, but then when you hear about it, you're like, oh, that would make life a lot easier.
100%. When I went into film school, I didn't know about it until my first movie within the program. One of my friends drew storyboards, and I was like, what are these? You made a comic book of the movie? He's like, no. This is how we're going to shoot it. And this is the order it's going to be in. And I was like, holy, what? You planned? I thought we were just going to have fun when we got there and film it all in order. It blew my mind. And that friend, Evan Sorosky, is a very talented animator now.
I always struggle so much with storyboards where they're like, I just remember the first time they assigned it, they're like, this is very important. You need to draw out the shots you planned. And so I sat there and I drew out some of the shots, and it was like stick figure. I can't get space at all, and I'm not good at drawing people, and it wasn't helpful at all. People were like, yeah, I don't know what this is, Chris. You're going to have to.
Do you do the thing where your first one's like really good and like you're doing the background and it's very detailed, and by, number 7, you're just like, all right, there's eyes on one person. That's enough.
No, it kind of started at like a 3-year-old's drawing level.
Yeah.
And then by the end, there's just like a paw print. I got all the way down to like a catch.
Yeah, no, because I remember soon after Knives Out came out, Rian Johnson, the director of it, he tweeted some pictures saying like, yeah, this was one of the storyboards I did for the movie, and it was just a crude drawing of like you can barely make out a girl, and then all the knives behind her are just like sticks in direction, and like every filmmaker is like, you don't understand, this is actually one of the most inspirational things I've ever seen.
I think you need to tweet a link to that in the show notes because I need to see that myself.
All right, I'll try to find it again. But yeah, so you went to film school. And so, how you think film school here helped you develop as a film maker, or where it made you more comfortable on set?
So I didn't go into film school right away. I went to journalism school for a year. And in that interim, I had kind of a dramatic thing happen. I actually wrote a feature about it, and I would love to make this movie. I wrote it for, do you guys know CW, the stand up? He's a New York stand up. CW Headley, really funny. We did a reading of it like 2 years ago. Anyway, so I get to the TV station, and my dream is to work for their like little sketch show. It's called Dirty Oatmeal. And I think I'm late to the meeting, or they just didn't like me. And I ask, can I have my own show then, since I'm not allowed to write on your show? And they gave me a week to produce a pilot. And I put together a 22-minute show with the help of like 5 or 6 friends. And it aired on their TV station, Sun Devil Television. And then I had 7 or 8 episodes that year. I mean, I didn't keep pumping them out on a weekly basis because that would have been like wild, but I did that with 0 shot listing, just a bunch of scripts and hoping for the best, learning Final Cut on the fly with my friend. And I did that for a year and change before deciding I wanted to go into film school. Made a movie, barely got in, I think. And then when I really started to understand what I was doing was on my first movie within the program, when I wrote a script, collaborated with my buddy Evan, and he was so prepared that I was like, this is the workflow. That movie is called The Mess. It is highly offensive. I would watch it. My teacher was like, why are you making this movie? And I screened it for the class, and it wasn't great. There's an Obama quote at the beginning. It's very much it's very much a product of its time. But that was definitely the first time I made something with a budget, with a vision that wasn't just like, let's figure it out when we get there. It was pretty amazing when all was said and done.
Yeah, so I guess just one last question before we get into the earliest film we have yours. So as you developed into your own style, were there any particular filmmakers or films or shows that that you particularly drew a lot of inspiration from?
Oh man, absolutely. I'm sure you guys have the same, but if you grew up, I want to say, in the 90s and 2000s, and you watch TV at all, I think our sensibilities are The Simpsons. Like we're all kind of standing on the shoulders and of, Simpsons imitators as well. But the Simpsons is the gold standard for making comedy film, I think. And on top of that, I guess I was also in love with Stella and Strangers with Candy. Those are my 2 favorite shows other than The Simpsons. And then in terms of filmmakers, I liberally ripped off Wes Anderson over the years. Like, not even shameless, completely stealing his style, production design, acting style. Just what's interesting though is it doesn't really play as well as you might expect in a theater, because it's sort of not really realistic. It's so stylized, but it's the easiest way to make something look professional and unique, even though it's not unique because it's totally Wes's and he's the greatest. I mean, I also love Spike Jones, Spike Lee. Is there anyone else named Spike that we know of? Probably an admirer of their work. Tarantino, obviously. Greta Gerwig now. But yeah, I'm always watching and thinking, how can I steal? Coen Brothers for sure. Yeah, I'm a cinephile. I try to watch like a good 7 movies I haven't seen a week every week.
Wait, really?
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, I have a job that has a lot of busy work built into it. So I make sure that I watch a movie while I'm not working. And then some days I'll get 2 in, which is great.
Wow.
So this week I watched 7 movies at work.
What movies?
I tweet this every week. Movies that I loved, movies that I liked, movies that I didn't like. So this week I loved the Please Don't Destroy movie. That was phenomenal. Made me jealous. There was a moment where they talked about being in middle school in 2007, and that really, it triggered me, guys. I'm gonna be honest. I was like, Jesus Christ, I was graduating high school, and you guys are making incredible features. I saw the Albert Brooks doc. I don't know if you guys saw that. Defending Your Life on HBO. Really good. Saw on Hulu Werewolves Within, the horror film with Sam Richardson. It's kind of... Did you see that?
No, I didn't know Sam Richardson did a horror movie.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
I fucking love that guy.
He's great. It's a fun movie, and it's got a cast of like comedy bit players that you love, character actors. That was fun. That fell under the light pile. Naiad, the new Annette Bening movie, where she's a swimmer that goes over and over and over to try and get from Cuba to Florida and fails and fails and fails. Does she make it? It's a fun sports film. I also like The Polka King with Jack Black.
Ooh, that sounds good.
It was pretty good. 10 Things I Hate About You. Had never seen it before. It's all just stuff on streaming. And then I hated, there's one movie I hated. The new Apple TV movie, Fingernails, with Jesse Buckley, Jeremy Allen White, the guy from The Bear. Just really did not do it for me. I can spoil it for you, but...
Is it a horror movie?
Kind of. It's more like a high concept romantic triangle in this world where you take a test to see if you're compatible with your partner, like if it's actually true love, and then you have to sacrifice a fingernail. Like they literally extract a fingernail from your digit. It's painful to watch, and it drags. It's got a good cast, but not for me.
It sounds like that one Black Mirror episode, but someone watched that and was just like, let's make it body horror.
Oh, is there a Black Mirror about compatibility in relationships?
Yeah, there's a Black Mirror episode where it's like these two people are in this program where they're supposed to be matched up with their one with like their soulmate or whatever, and it's like over the course of the episode they keep going back to each other, and then at the end it's revealed they're essentially just data points on this dating app to determine two people's actual compatibility.
Wow. Damn.
Huh.
Black Mirror is so good, and I don't watch it enough. I had no idea that episode existed, and now I have to see it.
Oh yeah. Well,
is that from a more recent season?
I think it was like season 3.
Oh man, I got to go back. Okay, great. Well, more shit to watch. Yeah. Fantastic.
All right. Well, on to your shit to watch. All right. So your earliest film that you were willing to show is called A Portrait of the Sandwich Artist as a Young Man.
Yeah.
What should people know about this movie in terms of what it's about?
So I worked at Subway, and I wrote a short story about a sandwich making prodigy. I printed it out. I was very proud of myself. And then I got to make a thesis film at ASU. And I was like, I'm going to adapt this into a screenplay. And man, I got that high again. When my class read the screenplay, they were all like, this is the best screenplay in class. And I was like, all right, okay, cool. So I poured everything into it. So what you should know about the movie is it's about a kid named Lyle Von Champion. He's one of the world's greatest sandwich makers, but his dad was just as great before him. Kurt Von Champion, he's kind of obsessed with making sandwiches, and he's poured his life into it, but he didn't get into Wolfgang Puck's sandwich making academy, and it really screwed him up. So tried to make his son great and kind of screwed up by making his son better than he was. And the movie's about their strained relationship, what it's like to be great, but not even have the approval of the person that kind of gave you all the tools that you need, and what it's like to be jealous of someone that's better than you, that's much younger. It's kind of like me watching the Please Don't Destroy movie.
Yeah, because I think in there it's like it's surprisingly a lot. Given like because I think the premise it sounds like, and it definitely comes off in the style of a sketch, but there are definitely themes in there that I think a lot of people would resonate with like living up to the expectation of your parents. And then it does feel like a parody of a lot of creative types, how there's the idea you have to suffer for your art, and
yeah. That is very true. There's extended montages of this 10-year-old going through, the various stages of homelessness and being a starving artist. It's stupid. It's absurd. It's not serious at all.
When he goes to the sandwich dealer.
Yes.
He does the trench coat opening.
Yeah. So I've got an Easter egg for that one. 2 Easter eggs, actually. So that actor is in the movie. It plays 5 different parts. If you look really closely, you can see him in 5 different scenes, as if he's lived out an entire world outside of the movie. So he's in the Wolfgang Puck scene. He's also one of the prospective students. He's one of the Olympians at the beginning when the montage of the Sandwich Olympics. And I forget the 2 others, but then obviously he's the sandwich dealer. But the most exciting Easter egg for this character is this is a parody of an award-winning short film in my school called Beautiful Addiction by he's Greta Gerwig's editor. His name's Nick Ramirez. I went to school with him. He edited or was the assistant editor on Little Women, and he just edited Jonah Hill's doc Stutz. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yeah.
Okay. That was a beast to edit, he told me. Like, insane to go through hours and hours and hours of therapy footage. It looks like, effortless, but not an easy doc to edit. So he was the Scorsese, of our school. And I had this big secret, like there's a parody built within my movie of his movie. And it was so great when it screened. Everyone that I wanted to be in the room was in the room, and I was just waiting for that scene. I'm glad it still works on another level, but it had its own, similar to Sell Bagels or Die Trying. I'm obsessed with, sandwiches and bread in my movies. But it had that worked in the room feeling that I was always chasing.
Yeah. Okay, so it's interesting that you brought up the one guy was used multiple times, because honestly, watching it, one of my thoughts was, how is he able to get so many extras for this? Especially considering there is a shot where it's just a bunch of children crying into food.
Oh, yes. That was such a good shot.
I got it. Once again, I used Evan as my DP. So that was the first time I'd ever seen someone dolly from one scene to another scene. Blew my mind. I can't take credit for that composition at all. But those kids, they're the people that didn't get cast in the movie that auditioned. I was like, I have a part for you. They all must be like 20 now.
Yeah, just 20 years old, and it's like there's an image of you as a child just crying, being like, being like, I got this because I wanted to be the lead, and they didn't pick me for that.
Yes.
What a consolation prize.
Wait, just out of curiosity, how do you get child actors as a college student, essentially? Because I couldn't imagine a lot of parents are like, yeah, this is a good environment to send our kids to.
And it was all unpaid. I didn't pay any of the actors anything. Insane. They came on board. I forget the name of the website, but it was essentially like a proto Backstage. And I used them to, I think I'd like solicit through the website and say, hey, would you like to audition? And we held auditions on campus. We taped them and probably saw like 30 kids to be in the movie. And
wild.
Anders was perfect. That kid was so good. It's like, there's no way I'm not casting this guy. He looks like he's out of, a Brothers Grimm book.
And so you mentioned you went to film school at Arizona State University. So a lot of people I've met that went to film school are generally like either in New York or LA, where their film production is already very big in the city. Did you feel there was any particular difficulties being in a place where, not to say the film production was non-existent, but just less prominent?
There weren't that many. Actually, I feel as if because businesses weren't as in tune or in step with, acting as locations, you could just kind of get more leeway being guerrilla style. Like, you could just show up. I filmed at my public library once. Like, there's this gorgeous public library in downtown Phoenix, 5 stories, all glass. I just walked in and filmed. I filmed a movie in the airport once. I just went in with a camera and a couple actors. No one said anything to me. I actually did that at LaGuardia. If you want to use LaGuardia as a location, maybe security is crazier now, but I walked into LaGuardia with just like, your typical Canon Rebel T7i, filmed 2 actors at the baggage claim. I thought for sure security is going to kick me out. No one said anything. So filming in an airport is surprisingly easier than expected. I don't know. This was 8 years ago, but I did it in Phoenix too. And that was like a 5-hour shoot and no one said a word to us. So I think one of the benefits is people are more okay with you filming in Arizona. And I imagine just, with cell phones now, you can get away with that. But it's also more novel. So people are more excited to help, I think. It's not like something that happens everywhere all the time. Although I don't really see it all that much in New York. I mean, occasionally you'll see like a Haddad truck or something like that. But it's not like LA, I imagine. And occasionally a few features would film in Arizona. Are you guys familiar with how Stephen King will, give the rights to his short stories for $1?
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Some guy at my school turned one of his shorts into a feature. That was right when I got into the program. And then Everything Must Go, the Will Ferrell movie, where that filmed like right around my neighborhood. And then my professor, Adam Collis, directed a movie that I think is on Netflix using all ASU crew. So like kids from my class, 2 years after I graduated, were essentially crewed out a full-length professional feature with George Lopez and Octavia Spencer in it. I forget who else is in the cast. It's called Car Dogs. It's basically a modern day Glengarry Glen Ross at a car dealership. And that is crewed out completely by amateurs. It's kind of cool, like sort of punk rock to just hire kids in film school and give them like union jobs. Real hands-on experience.
Okay, so like I'm also And curious, were there any problems you or your crew came across making this, whether it be from circumstances or just you kind of needed more experience to get around it?
Yeah, my major problem on set was emotional. I had like a hypomania sort of breakdown on set because I thought I was so great because I was like and I think people started to hate me. Basically, there was this philosophy my professor Adam Collis had, which is bridge the gap. He would say this all the time, all the time. In fact, I made a shirt that said "Bridge the Gap," kind of making fun of him. But bridging the gap, by his estimation, was you have the movie in your head that you want to make. You can see it playing. How do you bridge the gap and project it on a screen? How do you make the movie that you've always wanted to see the one that everyone else gets to see? And I bridge the gap with Sandwich Artist for the most part. I'd never really done it before. I made a movie that I actually really liked, and then I kind of got like incredibly vain and weird and alienated all my friends and so that was the biggest challenge actually, was just coming back down to earth. Like I jumped on a desk, Tom Cruise style, and I meant it.
Like you gotta build your pedigree a bit more before you can just act like an asshole.
But in terms of like Murphy's Law, nothing really bad happened on set. Oh, there's a scene where the lead actor, Anders, who plays Lyle, I made him cry. I actually made him cry. That was kind of messed up. I asked him to think about like what made him sad, and he started telling me about his grandpa that had passed, and I was like, all right, let's roll it. And I was like, Jesus. Yeah, exactly. I know. And it's for the dumbest movie ever. You guys saw the movie. It's so stupid. I could have just used like water in his eyes. It's not a big deal. I wanted real emotion though. So there was that. But the reason things didn't really go wrong, and it was planned to a T so much, is when you're in film school, in addition to taking classes, the real education you're getting is you're on set at least 3 days a week. I mean, I wish it was still that way for me. I didn't really get into the actual production side so much. I became an editor after college for a couple of years, and then moved here and have just been doing a variety of jobs since, not really even in the film industry. But I was on set every weekend, if not weekdays too, just, till like 1 a.m. And I saw two things happen on sets that made me prepare for everything. The first was my friend Sean Hennessy, extremely talented guy, made a movie called A Tragic Tale of Flies and Men. It's on Vimeo, I think. It's incredible. But on his set, we're filming in his dad's office. So already like kind of crazy. We're not in an office we have insurance for or rented. It's like his dad's office he's worked at for 20 years. I think they sold fences or something like that. And one of the grips is moving a light, and he hits the ceiling and it sets off a fire alarm. And because the light is so hot, like the light is struck, it's on. And all of a sudden, because this building has never had a fire alarm go off, the sprinklers come down.
Jesus.
And because the sprinklers have never come down, there's soot everywhere. And it's just raining black water all over. And it doesn't stop. The fire department comes, and we don't have brooms there for some reason. So somebody drives to a nearby barber shop because they'll have brooms. And now there's hair everywhere too. It just keeps getting worse. So my friend Sean had the absolute worst experience of anyone on a set. The other really bad one was my friend Chris Myers, who is in South Africa now working on Naked and Afraid. he's also incredibly talented, good friend. He made a movie in Strawberry, Arizona, which is where everyone. So my friend Jen, who lives in New York, she's an assistant director on Succession. She's kind of a big deal. She's married to Andy Hendricks, who is an incredibly talented DP. DP's a lot of like commercials and music videos, and they've got a horror feature coming up. Anyway, Jen really upped the game for what a thesis film could be. She made a movie called La Gallina Degollada, and it blew our minds. It was like, oh, this is the level we should all aspire to. So Chris does the same, and we go out to a forest in a place called Strawberry, Arizona. And I'd never heard of Strawberry, Arizona, but everyone started making their movies in Strawberry soon after. Anyway, we're on this set in a forest for like 5 days, making Chris's incredibly ambitious 19th century period piece. And it's going really well until the last day when we have a gun fight on set. We have a guy that's like a squib. What's the word I'm looking for? Expert, professional, technician. So this guy comes to the set with his son. His son is the one that's actually helping out. The guy does not make it, and he doesn't really know what he's doing. And he's wearing a shirt that says, "I shaved my balls for this." Question mark. You know, like I paused my video game for this nowadays. You'll see that. This was, I shaved my balls for this. And he sets us behind like 3 hours. Like the gunfight isn't going as planned. The lead actor has to leave. You know, he's got a life. He's probably being paid scale, if that, nothing. Also a very talented actor. So we're losing light, and we're trying to get this last scene off when my friend Barry Rubin, who is also a talented filmmaker, he cuts videos for Republicans Against Trump, which is kind of badass, helped Biden win the election in 2020. Don't know where you guys stand politically, but I was a big fan of that. I thought that was pretty cool of him. Anyway, Barry is a PA on set. I'm the second AD. And I say, hey, Barry, go get Adam, the actor, a water bottle because, you know, we're losing light. We need to keep him hydrated. Barry runs to get Adam a water bottle. We're in the forest. He trips, impales his hand on a log, goes straight through his hand. There's a stick going all the way through. So, yeah, we didn't wrap that day. We didn't finish. They had to do reshoots. It's kind of a nightmare. But those two stories, you know, the fire alarm going off and a hand through the log made me prepare for everything that could happen. And I've kind of been that way since, just bridging the gap in terms of production, like trying to see what will keep people on board and happy in every single way possible that I can, as opposed to just like winging it like I did when I started.
Okay. So I guess back to, sorry, I have to keep, I can't remember the full title of this. Back to A Portrait of the Sandwich Artist as a Young Man.
Yeah.
Was there anything from that said that you feel you particularly learned as a lesson filmmaking going forward?
Yeah, don't get full of yourself. It's not worth it. Stay humble, no matter what. When I got egotistical for like 2 months, it was just not worth it. I wore a suit to set every day because I saw Spike Jonze did that on the set of Where the Wild Things Are. And I was like, no, just be yourself, wear a t-shirt and basketball shorts. You don't need to act crazy. And I gave a speech beforehand, like I was a war general. It's like, nah, we don't need you to be this. Just be with everyone else. Don't try to be everyone's boss.
Yeah, it's funny because I know Christopher Nolan also wears a suit every day on set, but also
It sets a tone.
Yeah, also in most of his movies, the actors are also wearing suits. So I feel like if
He can't show up in cargo shorts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine like the behind the scenes photos of like Inceptions where literally everyone's in suits and he's just dressed like Adam Sandler?
I mean, I would love to see that. I wish.
So I mean, like with that ego, did you end up trying something on set that was just above your experience level?
I would say on Sandwich Artist or just ever.
Well, ever.
I mean, I'm embarrassed to say I've never learned After Effects. I've faked effects forever, but that's not an interesting story. I would say the most ridiculous thing that I've ever done on a set where I was out of my element was on my friend Joe Lau's movie. He also wanted to make like a capstone, but never went to film school and is one of the most talented friends I've ever had. He made a film called Omnibus to Quasi for basically nothing on his own with me and Evan. And that was it over the course of a summer. And one night I went to an empty parking lot, like one of those 5-story parking lots. And the cops came and told us to leave. And this was after Joe had jumped off the second floor to fake a murder. Like he was pushed off the second floor of a building. Luckily the cops missed that. But we were told by police that we'd have to leave the premises where, we didn't get any permits. I would say that was the time I was most out of my element because I was technically the producer on that movie and I had to lie to cops to say that, we're just sorry, playing dumb, basically. That was the move.
I feel like that
basically my whole life.
I mean, I feel like that's the definition of guerrilla filmmaking. It's just playing dumb when someone tells you, like, you're not supposed to be filming here. You're just like, what?
You have to be kidding me.
I didn't even know there was rules about that. That's
I have to ask if I want to use public property. I mean, so when my wife was 9 months pregnant last year, she made a 20-minute film, which is crazy. She just walked in with our daughter. And she, her philosophy is, do now, ask for forgiveness later. Film now, ask for forgiveness later. So we did a lot of stuff like that in her hometown, which is Metuchen, New Jersey. So we were filming on streets, filming on walkways. We got a few permits, but for the most part, it was straight up film school, guerrilla style, which is the best. Just let's get this and get the hell out of here.
Yeah, because I remember when I was in college, there was someone where they were shooting a film in a room on campus in the student union, and while they were shooting, a security guard came and was like, "You guys know you're supposed to like reserve this room," and someone looked at them with a straight face and said, "But we did," and the whole conversation is like, "Yeah, it's pretty weird. You guys don't have it." It's like, "Yeah, go like check up front." As soon as the security guard leaves, okay, we really gotta wrap this up.
We did. That's my move, man.
Yeah.
I think people in New York say this is a student film production. I heard a guy. Do you guys know Matt Vita?
That name sounds familiar.
I PA'd on his feature Killington, which just is doing the festival rounds now. You should totally have Matt on this show. Anyway, one of the guys on his set said anywhere he goes, he just says, "Oh yeah, this is a student film," and people usually just give him the benefit of the doubt. But we did is a better move.
So, how do you think you've grown as a filmmaker since this first film we watched?
Since Sandwich Artist, I have scaled things back. I actually have not made anything as ambitious since then. I've made a bunch of sketches. I'm just more economical. I think as fun as it was, Sandwich Artist didn't really play in the theater as well as I thought it would. It didn't get the laughs that I expected, so I sort of started pursuing stand-up right after that, and I was like, "Oh, silly, punny stuff doesn't really connect with audiences as much as I thought it did." Like, my goofy sense of humor isn't laugh out loud funny, it's more like, "Ah." So, I sort of started, seeing, okay, studying what really makes audiences laugh, and definitely wasn't my stand up, but it was more just like, okay, this is what works, and I'll start incorporating that into screenplays, and hopefully, I've gotten better at it. I don't know if that's true. I have a movie that I just filmed in late October, and I think it's the funniest thing I've ever made. So hopefully, fingers crossed, once it's cut, I'm actually gonna have my friend Joe edit. I'm gonna ship him the drive today. He lives in LA. So I think this will be the best thing I've made. It should be like 20, 25 minutes.
Oh, damn.
Sort of like it's kind of like a riff on King of Comedy, but about film festival curators.
Oh, I can imagine all the material in there.
Oh yeah, I'm super pumped.
Yeah. It's also funny you mentioned like scaling things back, because I did note that in the most recent short of yours, we saw it was 3 actors, 1 location. I was just like, yep, this is the way for low budget filmmakers.
Oh yeah, man, you can do it all in one day. You can tell a whole story, one room. I've been watching. Do you guys remember that HBO show Room 104? I'm kind of obsessing over it again.
No.
It was a classic. The hero indie filmmaker, Mark Duplass, Jake Duplass, they had a series. It went 4 seasons. It all takes place in a motel room, but it's all standalone episodes. Each episode is in room 104. And the first one's about a possessed child. The next one's about a couple with a sick role-playing game. And the only connective thread is it's just all in a room. You can't leave the room. And I love that. It's like, can I make a 1 location movie where I don't have to move my cast and crew, don't have to get multiple locations? So I try to write everything in 1 room and starring my wife. Those are my parameters.
If you could direct any remake, which one would it be?
So I didn't come up with this theory. My wife told me someone said it. She should be on this podcast. I'm just quoting her nonstop. But there's no point in remaking a good movie. Remake a bad movie. And I think if I were to remake a movie, it would probably be an SNL movie. I'm an SNL diehard. I might remake The Ladies' Man, because I think Tim Meadows is one of the funniest actors alive, and The Ladies' Man is just not a good movie. I think I'd start from scratch with Tim Meadows. Dream project. Tim Meadows, let's make an Oscar-winning version of The Ladies' Man.
Okay, if you had to cast one famous actor, actress in one of your films, who would it be?
Oh, that's easy. John C. Reilly, greatest actor. Steve Brule is the greatest accomplishment in television history. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen. Yes.
So you have to put John C. Reilly in the Sandwich Artist. Would he? What role do you feel he would have?
I mean, obviously Kurt Von Champion, but him as the child would be quite fun. As the man child.
I have a pick for you for the dad, who I think you would kill as directing them. Rob Hubel.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I wrote it for Daniel Day-Lewis, but yeah.
No, because
Rob Hubel's amazing.
Yeah, he was in Barely Lethal, which we talked about last episode, and we were talking about he plays his dad, where it's like all of his scenes are just him talking to his son. Just like being supported in the most awkward way, and he's like kills every scene he's in.
Oh, what's it called? Barely Lethal or Barely Legal?
Barely Lethal.
It's like a kid assassin movie that was an A24 straight to video classic on what was it, like Direct TV?
Yeah, Direct TV Cinema.
It had Samuel L. Jackson in it. It was
what?
Yeah, it was like kind of all over the place. It got like what 20 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, like 26.
I think it was a solid movie, like 60 to 75%. I would have enjoyed watching it hungover on a Sunday.
Shit. That's
Yeah.
a great sales pitch.
Yeah, for anyone listening, this is your reminder. If you haven't listened to our previous episode on Barely Lethal.
Okay, do you think The Sandwich Artist could be turned into a feature?
I adapted it into a feature where he was a stand-up prodigy.
Mm.
And I wrote roles for Philip Seymour Hoffman and then some other celebrity that died right after. And I was like, oh my God, I've got a curse. I really wanted to make it. I didn't think as like a sandwich movie it had legs, but like as a kid that goes on the road and like leaves his dad behind and sees America, I was like, oh yeah, and he's doing stand-up. This could be really fun. He was like a stand-up prodigy doing late night spots. It's all really, as I said, we're standing on the shoulders of The Simpsons. I don't know if you guys remember the Bart Gets Famous episode where he says, I didn't do it, from like season 4. Sandwich Artist is basically that.
Yeah, no, I think doing it as a stand-up is funny because I've had the conversation with some people where it's like, you notice it seems like stand-up comedy is the kind of the only art form where the celebrities that get really big off of it, their kids never get into stand-up.
Yeah,
and it's like it's weird. Part of me thinks it's like, yeah, because they don't have to, like like because like everyone who's gotten big off of stand-up, they went on to like make movies, TV shows, act. It's like their nepo kids can just skip that step.
True. Yeah. Well, I mean, you can also. It's the most. What would I say? It's got the easiest barrier for entry.
Yeah.
Anyone can do it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And all
there is that factor too. Like,
yeah, and
if you're a nepo baby, you can just kind of skip that step.
Yeah, and it's like I just want to see them like handle the early stages where it's like you know that everyone goes through. You're not really funny, but you gotta push through it. Like, could you imagine being Bernie Mac's kid and then just bombing at an open mic?
I wish I was Bernie Mac's kid.
Yeah, would be real much easier to get that feature made.
Yeah, true. Oh man, wow. Does Bernie Mac have children? Now I need to know. Like anytime there's like a celebrity in their 60s, I do wonder what their kids are up to. Are they normal? Do they look like them?
I want to say yes, but I know that's only because he had the sitcom where he didn't really have kids on the sitcom. He had nieces and nephews.
He had one daughter.
Such a good show.
Janice McCullough.
Is she a stand-up?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, she's doing something better with her life.
Wait, does that mean that Bernie Mac's last name is McCullough? His real last name is McCullough?
I wouldn't be surprised.
I guess so.
I also
just learned
imagine
something on this podcast.
I also imagine going to different open mics. Like you hear McCullough mispronounced so many times, you're like, all right, it's Mac now.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well,
I mean, Macaulay Culkin made Macaulay work, and I don't think we've ever met another Macaulay in our lives.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we head off, are there any general piece of advice you feel any one who either is starting filmmaker and wants to get into it should know?
There's only one piece of advice I have. Only make a movie that you'd want to see as an audience member. That's the only thing you really got to do. You have to picture yourself the whole time in the theater watching the movie. And if you like it, good. If you don't like it, write something you really like. That's really it. I think it's true for stand-up, virtually any art form. Just you have to think of yourself as an audience member while you're creating.
Yeah, I think it's really good because I think especially in screenwriting groups, you see this a lot where people try to write something that's like chasing a a trend in Hollywood, but it's like you're not gonna really see that way because if people can sense if you don't actually like the stuff you're writing, and also like trends in Hollywood change all the time. Because like I've met people that be like, oh, I'll just write a superhero movie, and they'll say that to me. It's just like, okay, I wrote a superhero pilot because I read comic books and like superheroes stuff. It's like if you're writing it just because someone else is doing, like, do you understand why people like the genre?
I think you're right. I think they don't. I think they want to make money and sell scripts.
Oh yeah.
I'm curious, are you guys working on anything now? I know I saw Belton short. I don't think I've seen any of Chris's work.
Oh, I'm not a director. I just really like movies. I'm the movie part of film versus movie.
Oh.
All right. Well, we our time is Matt is thank you for coming on. Is there any place people can or should follow you?
Yeah. Just on Instagram, Matterday Night Levy. I am a huge SNL nerd. MATURDAYNIGHTLEVY.
Yeah. All right. So thank you all for listening to another episode of Film versus Movie, Cutting Room Floor. Thanks again to Matt for coming on. I'm Belton DeLaine-Facey.
And I'm Chris Shurr. And have a nice day. Thanks for listening.